Was the Snow White disaster inevitable, or was anything possible to salvage this, given the woke left, Disney, the disasters unfolding? Let's get into it with Arynne Wexler, who is formerly known as Non-Libtake. But I know now she is just Arynne Wexler, the one and only internet personality. What is the preferred nomenclature now?
I'm not sure. I really vacillate on this. I had a DC consulting friend recently suggest that I say I'm a strategic communications professional, which is a very DC consultant suggestion.
That person, that person should leave the leave the content suggestions to others. That is definitely not what we want to call you. But Arynne Wexler is here with us. Snow White, $34 million, $300 million budget. Looks like $40 million in the first weekend, which is a disaster given the size of the budget. They wouldn't use dwarves. They put Rachel Zegler in. You're Wexler. Rachel Zegler in. What do you make of it?
I think what we're seeing now is they're finally realizing, and it's movie after movie, failure after failure, just loss after loss, where there was so much peer pressure that the left was able to put on us when it comes to this woke nonsense, right? You could force people in a corporation to sit through DEI training. And, even in, I'm sure you've had this, and we're both from New York, we have friends who are there, where you're even in social conversations with people where the social pressure of everything from the left comes through in conversation. But at the end of the day, you just can't convince someone that something is funny or engaging or interesting. They just want to see a good movie. And that's where they failed with Snow White. That's why they keep failing. That's why the TV shows, the news, mainstream media, that's why they're all tanking in the ratings, because they just refuse to acknowledge that what they've been doing is actually pressuring people and force feeding them all this BS.
They stopped using actual dwarves in the casting, I think because Peter Dinklage of Game of Thrones fame made some comment like, oh, this is what we're doing. We're using dwarves to play dwarves, which I can understand. From the left-wing intersectional woke perspective, wouldn't it be dwarf appropriation to have a regular-sized person or whatever whatever we're supposed to call it, play a dwarf? Like, that's not good, right? So to have dwarves play dwarves, that's not good. So they use CGI dwarves, which to me is the worst possible option, because I think CGI in general can ruin a movie. But
yeah, no, that's a great point. Buck, I didn't think about how they used other people. My only famous dwarf out there, midget, little person. I'm not sure what we're supposed to say, and I think he just doesn't want other people to get the same spotlight that he had the opportunity to rise in. And so I did tweet about this, and I said, he seems to me like a little man. That's what I think. But with the left, you can never win. It's never enough, right? So even dwarves aren't allowed to play dwarves. Like, I don't know where it ends with them.
Clay, my co-host, has a suggestion that he thinks they should have put Sydney Sweeney in as Snow White. What do you make of this? And I'm going to tell Clay whatever it is that you say here. So I'm just curious.
Well, that would have actually been more believable, because right now we're supposed to believe that Gal Gadot is jealous of this wide-eyed freak, who is, I don't know, tell me, what man is attracted to a woman who's perpetually complaining about everything? Like, forget her looks for a second, just the personality alone, that's enough to just turn off any man. But yeah, I think Sydney Sweeney, that would have been way more believable. I'm with Clay on this one.
Yeah, I said one of the problems in the movie is that when they look at when you have Gal Gadot and she's doing, who is the most beautiful of them all, it ain't Rachel Zegler. So that just there's a believability gap here. I mean, Gal Gadot is very pretty.
It just goes to show that was actually a good actress, because if she was able to look in the mirror and say, who's the fairest of them all, and pretend that it's Rachel Zegler, maybe she really does deserve that star.
I really think that we've been talking about this for a long time on the right. And how we need more influence in the culture. A while ago it was, we don't have a social media platform, and now we do. Thank you, Elon. That is truly global and at scale. I know there's some others that are trying to build up as well, and there's Truth Social, but with Twitter, now X, there's something for social media that is not a province of the left. But in the creative side of the equation, or on the creative side of the equation, I just feel like it'd be so easy if you got a studio that was going to tell the kind of stories that people actually like. But here's an example. Taylor Sheridan. I know people love Taylor Sheridan stuff on the right in particular, but I think in general he's got kind of mass market appeal. He's got a couple of cool ideas, and then there's a lot of lazy writing and a lot of duplicative stuff, and it's actually not that well executed. I'm just being honest with people. Like the last season of Yellowstone was trash. Like
I didn't even watch the last season.
It's terrible.
Yes, it got to that point.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So if you just told stories that people want to see, you would have a very successful business model. But I guess because we don't have Netflix, we don't have Amazon, none of the content makers and the people that greenlight this stuff want to go down this pathway yet. But I feel like it's going to break. I feel like eventually, Elon's going to give Mel Gibson $1 billion and be like, go do your thing or something. I don't know.
I was actually talking with a friend about this the other day, which is we do need to convince part of the left to just be normal, because at the end of the day, I think we're very different. We need both liberals and conservatives in this world. We need that balance, because there are things that we are better at and things that the left is better at, and they've just gone so deranged that now nothing is enjoyable in the theater. But we want like the artsy liberal Hollywood type making movies, and you used to be able to be a normal liberal and produce great art. And now they've just gone too far away from that, probably because funding encouraged them to do that. We saw even the same thing in tech, all the funding for fake green energy stuff. So we're seeing this across the board. And I think as those incentives go away, people will just revert back to the mean. But I actually don't really want to encourage the right to get into this. I want to encourage the left to come back to that like normal standard deviation from the center of what most Americans are, I think.
Our sponsor here is Birch Gold. Purchasing gold continues to be a priority for more Americans than ever before. And that's because the cash in your savings account is getting eroded by inflation. So if you have particularly an old 401k or IRA, it's so easy to transition that into a gold IRA, tax sheltered IRA and physical gold for no money out of pocket. Birch Gold Group's who I trust to do this for you. I just got some gold for them a couple weeks ago. Get your free info kit on gold by texting my name, Buck, to the number 989898. No obligation, just useful information. A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews. Text Buck to 989898. Let the experts at Birch Gold help secure your future today with gold. Now, next up here on the agenda for you, I was actually trying to pull up a story, so I was stalling as I'm speaking to you here. I haven't gotten your take on this one yet. When do we get to stop talking about the Signal chat leak thing? Do you think are we at the point now where we can say, all right, we get it?
Yeah, I think honestly the news cycle has been really slow. I've been less active on X the last few days in general, because I feel like there's just not so much going on. So people are really harping on this. So yeah, I made my final joke about it today on my story, because I've just been enjoying joking about this, because I think it's like, I find the humor in everything. So I'm enjoying this. I just said, message the girls group chat. Anyone want to bomb Yemen today? No replies. And I just think that's how I'm dealing with it, moving on. But I'm ready to move on from this. And we know Trump had his response, which is he learned his lesson. We're moving on. Yeah. And we just need to not let the left distract us. Although I guess I sort of played into that, but I just enjoyed the joke and everything. But it's time to move on.
So what do you have like salsa music going on in the background wherever you are? I mean, you're a South Florida gal, so is that what's happening here? Because the viewers at home and the listeners on the podcast are gonna be like, what is going on? Set some of the scene here. Like where are the cool kids hanging out?
I'm so sorry that my headphones are picking that up. We're in dire straits right now because someone is fixing my dishwasher in my apartment, so it's very noisy. But yes, we are here in Miami, which is adjacent to the United States of America. And we don't have to use our passports to cross over, but you'd think we would, just to go up to Fort Lauderdale. You think they would check? They should.
It is. The weather is well, especially until you get into the summer. The weather is great. A lot about South Florida, very much to be excited about. But did you see the video of a crocodile and an alligator fighting? Did you know that South Florida is the only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles coexist in the same ecosystem? And do you have a choice for who should win that battle, crocodile or alligator?
Wow. I did not know that. I thought we
Yeah.
only had gators down here. You're telling
No.
me. So my question is, which one do you run and zigzag from, and which one do you punch in the nose? Or is punching in the nose the sharks?
That's sharks.
what you do?
No, you want to run. You want to run from gators and from crocs. Crocs are notoriously more aggressive toward people and more territorial than gators.
Was this in the Everglades, or was this in an urban area where the alligator and croc were duking it out?
It was like in someone in Fort Lauderdale's backyard, which is why I brought it up to you. Like there's a video of it.
Stop.
Yeah.
No, I did not see this. I've seen my fair share of iguanas. And, when it gets really cold in the winter, there was that polar vortex years ago. They fall, and it's very dangerous. It's not a joke, but it is funny.
Yeah. Coconuts are also a danger around here. They fall from the trees and they hit people. You have to be careful.
I've never seen that, but I have on multiple occasions almost run over an iguana, which is a very South Florida experience.
They are, it's funny because, here in New York, it was on the streets, you had pigeons and rats. And here it's lizards. And I must say, I do prefer the lizards. Little lizards everywhere. The lizards, they just eat bugs. They don't bother me, They don't really carry disease from what I know of. So I'm just trying to give South Florida some credit on this one. I think the switch up for lizards instead of like giant subway rat, that's something we can get behind. I didn't know we were going to get into zoology today on the podcast, but I just took us in this direction because I figured why not. It is the slowest news week of the Trump era, of the Trump administration, I think, so far, which is why they're able to pound this signal story so much. And like, oh my gosh, like all the war plans, like we bombed the sites we wanted to bomb in Yemen. They're not going to do it again. Somebody screwed up on the chat. This stuff can happen. It's not good, not intentional. I just wish everybody would, I don't know. I wish everybody would just be a little more honest in their assessments of these things. But
I agree, especially when, when you know how Signal works. Ben Shapiro was talking about this, and I thought it was a very good point that if someone doesn't have to put their full name on their Signal handle, and I'm not really excusing this. I'm actually personally pretty shocked that the government is conducting these types of messages on Signal. I don't know that that's necessarily the place for these things to happen. But either way, they assessed that this was safe enough. And so they're on Signal talking about things that are obviously not the war plans themselves, but just communicating generally. And it's really easy to add someone to a chat if it's just the initials, because you can just be in Signal in a more anonymous way where all you would see is those two initials that would be similar to someone else they were trying to add in the chat. But also, like, you're lurking there waiting for them to make a mistake. If I were accidentally added to a chat like that, I would immediately message someone saying, I think I was put in this chat accidentally. I've gotten messages from friends, I'm sure you have too, where they're between two messages and they send you something, like a link, and you say, like, or an address or whatever it is, and you say, I think that was meant for the other person you're talking to. So it's weird that he was just lurking, waiting to see if they would mess up, because as someone who supposedly cares about the United States, you would just immediately tell them and remove yourself from the chat, right?
Yes, I would think so. We'll leave it there for this one. Arynne Wexler. However, go follow her on the Instagram. I'm forgetting what these things are called. Instagram. She's got a huge following on Instagram.
On the Instagram, very good, Buck.
Yeah, on the Instagram. She's great on the Instagram. Great on the Instagram. Probably some people are saying fabulous Instagram. She's doing great work there. And thank you for coming to hang out, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Buck.
Look, having quality firearms is a great thing, and having firearms at a price point that's unbeatable, even better. It's where Bear Creek Arsenal comes in. Bear Creek Arsenal is absolutely an all-American company making firearms that are going to be your favorites. And I'm talking pistols, rifles that are upper receivers, lower receivers, absolutely fantastic. Go to bearcreekarsenal.com today. That's bearcreekarsenal.com, and just go pick out a new firearm for yourself. They send it direct to your FFL, no middleman fees or anything like that from their advertising. They are doing great stuff for you. You're going to want to check out Bear Creek Arsenal today. Go to bearcreekarsenal.com.